For most part, when you want to create a responsive grid, you go to each breakpoint and then you assign the number of items per row, which is very mostly that is what everybody gets themselves into, right? But I want to show you a magical way to make sure that your grids are always responsive on each breakpoint without going into each breakpoint actually to like tell it how many items or columns that you want per row. To do that, let's go into advanced grid, right? So advanced grid, and then in here, the parameters that we want to tell our grid template is auto for a height backslash, and then repeat. As always, repeat tells your grid how many grid items that you do need. So repeat, and then one magical word that you want to use is auto fit. So what is auto fit? So auto fit, what it does is it makes sure that the items within your grid expands to fill the available space. The items within your grid expands to fill the available space, mostly the available space. All right, so after putting your auto fit, comma, and then space, then min max, and then open bracket, and then we are going to put a value over here for our minimum. So let's say our minimum is 300 pixels, and then comma, our maximum is going to be 1 fr, and then we're going to close that, and then we close the other bracket too, and then we're going to give this one a gap of 10 pixels. All right, so you might be asking, where is the auto fit technique that you're talking about? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this and remove it. So as soon as I removed it, you can see that these items have now stretched out to fill the space available. Without auto fit, you wouldn't be able to achieve this. But that's not all when it comes to auto fit. Then let's go into, let's add another one, right? Let's duplicate another one. And then we are going to go into the front end to see how that also works. So let's save this. And then in this front end, let's refresh and then open the developers panel. So this is what we do have. We are going to shrink this down and see the magic that I was talking about. So click on here and let's start shrinking it down. All right, so as soon as we shrink it down, you see this one came to the next line. The next one also came to the next one on the smaller screen. Then we do have just one column per row. So going back, when you stretch it out, you can see that now the columns fit nicely. The reason why we do have 4 items per row or 4 columns is that our section is 1440 for the container and our item is 300 pixels for the minimum. So 300 is giving like 120 1200 pixels. So the rest have just been stretched out, and I can show you that over here when we check for track size. So you can see our normal track size over here is 342.50 pixels, 342 for every one of them. Plus when you add this 10 pixel gaps, you are going to get 1440. So when it starts shrinking down, it's going to shrink down. If you look at the numbers, when it starts shrinking it down, you can see the numbers will start decreasing. As soon as it gets to less than 300 pixels for each, is going to bring one to the next line. So now we are at 301.75 pixels. Let's get below. So this is 300. So 300, as you can see at the top. And then when we get below that size, one move to the next line because it is less than 1200 pixels that can fit the 4 of them. So when it starts shrinking down, then it becomes smaller like this. So with this technique, you wouldn't need to go to like each breakpoint. You wouldn't have to say that, okay, when I come here, and I'm going to illustrate that for you to see too. So let's say when I duplicate this, right? And then I use the basic grid and I give this one a grid of 4. And then over here, 10 pixels. When I start going down to different breakpoint, you can see that this is still 4 items. I'll have to actually come down here and say, okay, give me 3 or give me 2, or whatever number that I do want. But over here, this has already moved to the next line, and it is occupying that without we even telling it to do that. So that is the magic of AutoFit. AutoFit makes sure that your items, they fill the remaining space so that they can be more responsive on different breakpoints. So I hope you're going to use this when it comes to building some of your grids, and it will actually make your grid building much easier and much maintainable, and it also makes it much faster. And then you don't actually have to think about all the breakpoints that you have to go and change. All right, so that is that for AutoFit and for making your grids responsive. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you can also subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.